that inspires the sunflower seed to grow into a sunflower also works inside of each and every one of us. And it helps us to transform hatred into love and judgment into compassion. We have that force working through us all the time. It never goes away. It never takes a vacation. It never says, I'm sleeping in, it's Saturday. I'm on my lunch break, I'll be back in an hour and a half. Ever. It's always there, always seeking to work through us. And so with that, we will sing our theme song. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited. Right now, right now. I am free, I am unlimited. There are no chains that bind me. I am free, I am unlimited, right now, right now. And then Susan will read our announcements and our daily word.
We're going to do this in stereo from behind today.
Yeah.
The daily words for today are Father's Blessing. I bless my father and fathers everywhere. When we think about fathers, we may imagine the ideal father, someone who's always available, eager to guide, teach, and assist, encouraging and supportive. Today I acknowledge the good that my father provided me, the lessons he taught me, and the love he gave me. No one does everything perfectly all the time. Each father does the best he can with the knowledge and experience he has. I know I am a work in progress as well, even as I vow to become the best person I can be. Being a father is a sacred role. Fathers have the responsibility to provide a strong foundation from which their children will flourish and grow. Today I thank and bless my father and fathers everywhere. And from Matthew 15:4, honor your father. Our affirmation again, I bless my father and fathers everywhere.
I bless my father and fathers everywhere.
Announcements. Next Sunday, June 23rd, right after the summer solstice, we kick off our second annual Rainbow Series. Aren't we supposed to cheer?
Yay! Woo!
Deanna will start with red and move through the colors of the rainbow in the 7-week series. So next week, feel free to come dressed in red. Doris and you're both a day ahead, huh? Okay, make that up.
We're just sort of like reminding.
Yes.
This is the
I was a
example.
week ahead.
Yes. Next week is Red Day.
Red Day.
Red Sunday.
Our youth group, good morning, Kathleen. Our youth group is having an activity next Sunday at 10 a.m. during the Course in Miracles. They will be experimenting with frequency and vibration using Einstein wands, aka dowsing rods. This experiment will show how positive and negative frequency impact our physical bodies. And maybe they'll give us a demonstration after their
Yes, that's what I hope.
Each child will be given a set of dowsing rods. So if you know a teen or a tween, please feel free to invite them. Weekly questions. Deanna answers questions and posts them to YouTube. The link can be found on the Facebook page or in your newsletter, which you can sign up for at the website. A Course in Miracles meets every Sunday at 10 a.m. And remember that we do have our church website, brightstarchurch.org. Deanna records most of the sermons in an MP3 format, and you can find those there. You can sign up for the weekly newsletter, and a calendar of events is also on the website, along with articles based on recent sermons. Coming in July, our Sunday, July 14th, Potluck Sunday, and we'll also be celebrating July birthdays. And we have one last note on June 21st, that's this Friday.
Coming Friday.
Coming Friday. Music and chanting at the Spiritual Treatment Center in Redlands.
Yes. Our friend Michael, who's been here like the last 3 Sundays, I think he does that once every so often, but I'm not sure if it's once every 3 months or once a month. But anyway, if you want all the information on it, you can email me, and I have the times and all that. But I think it's like at 7 in the evening. Yeah. Okay.
Back to you.
Back to me. Well, happy Father's Day. It's a good day. It's a good day. It's a beautiful day. I found a really fun quote. I've never laughed so hard and thought one so true. But this is from Spike Milligan. He's a British poet and playwright. I had never heard of him, but I guess he's pretty famous over in Great Britain. He said, "My father had a profound influence on me. He was a lunatic." I love that. I just thought about, like, I always love to think about what is the difference, because there's so many places where we cross over. I mean, dads can be nurturing, moms could be adventurous, but I can remember when when my kids were really young and we would go to the park, it was very apparent who was, in our family anyway, who was the nurturer and the protector and who was the adventurer. But I can remember going to the park. Macy was not even a year old yet, so Adam was just a little over 2. And Dave is swinging him on the swing without the safety straps. And I'm watching him thinking, is he trying to launch my child to space? Right? Because he's pushing that swing, whoa, right? And so I'm just like, so I'm like, I'll swing him, you take a break, go hold Macy, right? And Adam is like, I want Dad to swing me. Right? So I'm just swinging like this. Are you okay? Here, you want me to hold you? But you watch this on the park. You can see it with families. It's the dad that's throwing that child way up into the air, where the mom's just, bouncing him gently on her little knees. It is the father who says, yeah, go ahead, let them play football. Yeah, go ahead, let them go camping with their friends where there's no cell phone reception for a whole week. Would you stop calling them every 10 minutes to check on them? Let them have some fun, right? That's what Dad says. I was telling Dave this morning that we're a good balance. I'm like, you're so not overprotective and I'm the overprotective, and so we balance each other out, so we're like just normal between the two of us. But it's the father's influence on the child that helps them become adventurous. The child is always stepping out of their comfort zone, when they're hanging out with their dad. They're really moving out of the comfort zone. That's what the dad does. He inspires them to do that. He moves the children out of the mother's comfort zone, is what he does too. Yeah, Eric Butterworth said, "The greatest mistake is in believing that we are only human. We are human in expression, but divine in creation and limitless in potentiality." Okay, we're human, we are. You can feel the human bones, but we are divine in creation and limitless in our potentiality. Well, if our potentiality is limitless, then that's something we can never stop reaching for, right? Because there's always something undiscovered. There's always an adventure that is there for us to take. We're not meant to be contracting. We are meant to expand. In fact, I read recently somewhere that the definition of heaven is expansion. So we're meant to bring heaven on earth, right? We bring it through us and we keep bringing it. We don't stop. We don't ever say, oh, it's here, right? Because then what happens? We could contract if we forget. We forget sometimes. We start pulling it back. So it's a constant state of expansion. That's what heaven is. So it's the Divine Father energy that helps us to keep moving into those great adventures, to help us keep being inspired and moving forward, expanding outward. Now, Jesus spent a lot of time trying to get this point across. He was always saying something like, you are meant to be doing this, and you're meant to be doing more. Okay? Why don't you just go do this? Okay? I do remember at one point he even seemed to be annoyed at his disciples because they were waiting for him to take care of something. I think it was when they were out on the water and there was that terrible storm. I was like, well, why did you wake me up to do this? You could have done it yourself, right? So he knew what their potential was. He knew that there was an unlimited potential. Hi, Shane. Come on in. Sit down. Right here. Hi, come on in. There's 2 seats. Hi, come on in. Hello.
Good morning.
We were just talking about the energies of the Divine Father. But the Divine Father is moving us into a sense of adventure so that we're not sitting complacent, so we're not staying in our comfort zone, so that we're not getting bored with our life. It's the Divine Father that wants to put us in that swing and launch us out into space, right? Like my husband tried to do with my children. All right, I'm going to tell you a little fairy tale. And as a little just fun thing, the first person who knows what this fairy tale is, just go like that with your hand. You get a little stone. It's an ametrine stone that I got from a friend of mine. But because I believe fairy tales are important, I believe mythology is important because it speaks to something that is working through us as a collective. Okay, and these stories are important because when we don't want to have to face the real truth in our life, the tales, the mythologies, they work through our subconscious and they remind us that we're meant to be expanding from who we really are. We're not meant to stay in the same place. And when Jesus tried getting this across with his disciples, he already knew there were two ways that we can live our life. One is either we're wrapped in the awareness of God, so we're always working to expand that infinite being that works through us. We're always coming from a place of love. We're always doing living love, making good decisions because it's love that works through us. Or walking that other path where we're wrapped up in fear. Now, when we are fearful, we are making the worst decisions because in a fearful state, we are at our worst. We're not at our best. We're not moving toward the brightest expression of ourselves. We're staying small and stuck and frightened. Okay, those are our two options, love or fear, awareness of God or no awareness. I was telling my kids this morning that a couple weeks ago I started noticing double digits on license plates. And so I started asking for them as signs, and they could only be a sign if they were consecutive. Like here was a 22 and there was a 33, okay, on cars right next to each other. That had to be how it happened, okay, it wasn't a sign. Now that I have awareness of these numbers, I'm seeing them constantly, okay? There are a lot of double digits out there, lots and lots and lots. And I was telling my kids, if I could get awareness of that, that means I'm good at having awareness, okay? We all are good at having awareness. So what are we having awareness of? Okay, I have awareness of numbers now, and I've decided, well, I think I'm going to turn that to good. I'm going to practice having the awareness of God working through me, seeing love in all things. Okay, see love, see love. That's what I'm going to see. So, once upon a time, there was a woodcutter and his wife and his son and daughter, and they lived at the edge of a wood, a great, deep, dark, scary forest. Okay? Now, they were very poor. And one night, the mom sent the children to bed. And then she started arguing with her husband about how poor they were, how they were starving, and how these kids were eating all their food. And so she thought the next day they should take them out into the middle of the forest. You know this? Well, I got 3 stones, so the next 2 people get one also. She says, we're going to take them into the middle of the forest, and we're going to leave them out there. Let the wild animals have them, because we have hardly any bread left. The children hear this, and the dad is arguing against it. He's, no, I love these kids. And the mother's like, no, they're eating us out of house and home, and, we're just going to take them into the woods. The dad caves in. All right. So the little girl, she's frightened. She tells her big brother, I am so scared. What are we going to do? Her big brother says, don't worry. I know exactly what to do. So he snuck outside and he gathered up a bunch of little silvery pebbles. He filled his pockets with pebbles. Okay, he goes back inside. They go to sleep. And the next morning, mom wakes him up. Come on, kids. We're going to go out to the woods, to the deep, dark woods. And we're going to cut some wood and you're going to help us carry it all home. Okay, so they go trekking out into the woods farther than they have ever been before. But the little boy is dropping a stone along the way. Okay, so they get out there. Mom builds them a fire, gives them a little bread to eat, says, we'll be back in a little while. They never come back. It gets dark. The moon comes out. And the little sister's scared, and her brother says, don't worry, just wait, just wait. And the moon lights up the stones. They follow the stones all the way home. Well, the father's overjoyed to see them. Okay, he's overjoyed. The mother says, You wicked children, you had me so worried staying out in the woods so long. I thought you'd never come home. Such a nice mom. You see, this isn't a Mother's Day story, right? This is a Father's Day story. Well, another few weeks goes by, and once again, there's just nothing there to eat. The mother and the father are arguing. The kids are in bed and they can hear the argument. The mother's saying, we just need to get rid of these kids. Seriously, they're eating us out of house and home. All they do is eat. We're poor and it's all because of the kids. It's the kids' fault. Father says, no, but I love them so much. Mother says, no, this can't work any other way. We have to get rid of the kids. Father says, all right. So the little daughter, the sister says to her big brother, I am so scared. What are we going to do? The brother says, don't worry, I'll take care of this. Well, he tries to sneak out, but the mom has locked the house down. He can't get out of the house. So the next morning, mom comes in, says, come on, we're going to go to the woods. Oh, here's some bread for your breakfast. The boy tucks his bread into his pocket. And on the way out there to the middle of the deep, dark woods, he drops crumb after crumb after crumb. So the parents light them a fire, say, you just hang out here. We'll be right back after we're done chopping all the wood. And then they vanished, of course. So nighttime rolls around. The little sister is scared. And the brother says, don't worry, I have this handled. But then they look, and there's no bread because the animals of the forest have eaten the bread. So they go walking through the woods. They're scared. They wander for 3 days. They see a beautiful white bird, and the bird is singing, so they feel really good about this bird. The bird leads them to a house made of cookies and gingerbread and candy and gumdrops, okay? So little Hansel says to his sister Gretel, oh my gosh, there's food. He runs to the house and he just pulls off a shingle and starts eating. Gretel, however, is a little more leery. Okay, she kind of walks up carefully. She's looking around. Hansel says, just grab a window. It's sugar and sweet like you, right? So just eat something. Well, they hear a woman's voice. Who's out there eating my house? Well, this old woman comes out and she feels sorry for the children. And she feeds them a nice meal, gives them a warm bed to sleep in, right? But she's really not a nice woman. She's an evil, evil woman. And the next morning, she gets Hansel and sticks him in a cage. She tells him she's going to plump him up to be good eating because she's going to cook him. Okay, she makes Gretel work in the kitchen. So she checks Hansel's wrist like every morning just to see if he's plumping up. Well, he's smart. He knows she can't see very well, so he sticks a bone through this cage he's in. And she feels the bone. She's like, oh, this isn't working. I have to get you some more food. Well, it's been long enough. The witch wants her meal. And so she decides she's going to cook him anyway. She's going to go ahead and cook Gretel too, because she's tired of this little girl. But Gretel is a smart child, and she knows that this is a bad situation. And the witch says to her, I've turned my oven on. Can you please climb in and tell me if it's lit? Tell me if it's lit. And Gretel says, okay, I can't seem to figure out how to get in this thing. Could you show me how? The witch says, stupid girl. Right? Because it's the girl that's stupid. And the witch climbs in the oven. Gretel gives her a little push with her foot and shuts the door and locks it and cooks the witch. She sets her brother free. But they don't run off right away. They discover the house is filled with treasure. Okay? So they gather up all the treasure. They walk for just like an hour or so and they come to a lake. It's so big they can't get around it. So wide they can't swim across it. But Gretel sees a little white duck out in the middle, and she calls to the duck, and she says, little duck, here stand Hansel and Gretel. Neither a walkway or a bridge, take us onto your white back. So the duck comes to the shore and takes the children one at a time. The children return home, where they learn the father has not had 1 minute of joy the whole time that they've been gone, and the mother has died. Okay, the mother just died. So they return home, okay? Now, from a spiritual perspective, the first thing that can strike us about this story is the lack consciousness that the mother has. And she's putting it out on the children. And the father is in a state of fear, and so he just listens to her because he doesn't know how to get out of his lack of consciousness either. Now, they happen to be living on the edge of a great wood. Well, in every story we have ever heard, what happens in the woods, right? Where do the monsters live? They live in the woods, right? Where do the huge wolves that tear your throat out live? They live in the woods, okay? It's the dark, scary things that live in the woods. So when the children traveled into the woods, they faced their fears. Okay, they started their journey of spiritual growth. The white bird that led them to the house, okay, that was a spiritual guide because the house was their fear. The house was a place of overabundance of candy and all good things that children would love, right? The children had to learn that that was really not what was best for them. That is not what would nurture and comfort them, to have all the candy they could eat, okay, to have all of that form of abundance. If they kept that thinking, they would grow up like their parents and just always live in lack consciousness. Okay, so they learned that that actually would put them in danger, okay, to have that desire only. Gretel kills the witch, okay, so she faces her fear and is able to kill it off. And then they discover the great riches. Well, what happens when somebody takes that perilous journey into the unknown, discovers their fears, conquers their fears? They discover spiritual riches. And they bring those riches back then. Whenever we have conquered a fear, we bring something back with us that makes us stronger, okay, that makes us more aware of what it is that works through us. Okay, so that is part of the journey. Gretel then also uses the power of her words to get the duck from the middle of the lake to come and help them. Now, a white duck, again, that's spiritual guidance and help. Traveling across the water, they didn't travel across the water on the way in, right? They just wandered in the woods for 3 days. Okay? The water symbolizes their emotional healing through their spiritual journey, through facing their fears. They healed emotionally. So, we take a perilous journey, all right? We conquer our fear. We then heal emotionally, and that allows us to bring our spiritual gifts back into our life with us. That allows us to allow God to work through us. Why doesn't God work through us? Because we're afraid and we forget. Why doesn't God work through us? Because we don't believe it. We don't trust. That comes from fear. Okay, we conquer the fear, and there's nothing then that keeps us from allowing that infinite being to work through us. Now, Joseph Campbell called this journey the journey to find the Father. And the kids wanted to get back to their father, okay, and they did. But see, Joseph Campbell, he says we take this journey in one of two ways. One is that it happens to us, like Hansel and Gretel. Okay, they were thrown into it. They had no choice but to heal. And that happens to, I think, us most of the time too. We're just faced with the situation. It's like, well, I just got to work with this. It's what's happening. I don't have a choice. Now we can also choose to go on the quest to find that divine Father. Okay, and we do that too. But either way, however we choose to walk that journey, either way, it is about finding out who we are inside. Either way, it is about having opportunities to discover how we can let God work through us. It's about discovering that source that does work through us and what we are really made of. It's about finding our destiny. Now, the Divine Mother, she gave us the gifts of intuition and inspiration. The Divine Father also gives us many things. And one of those things is the power of our words. Our words have great power. They have creative power, and we use our words to either activate love or activate fear. How are we talking into this world? We're talking, and it affects us, but also affects who we're talking to, right? So if we're talking from a place of love and we're encouraging and supporting, you know how the people around you feel like, you know, they're just like, yeah, right? They feel good. But I've been around people who are just like, no, this isn't going to work. This is getting too expensive. I can't do that. I used to love listening to my stepdad talk. And he'd be like, I could remember when you could buy a house for $12 and a carton of milk. I was like, okay, but that make me feel so good, right? So just what are we dwelling on? Not too long ago, Adam and I were coming home from school, and he wanted to discuss his summer schedule. He had a lot going on. He was trying to organize it in his head. He was talking about doing cross country, which means getting up early a few days a week and going running. He is in an AP history class, which means he has homework over the summer. And he's thinking, I might do a play at the Yucaipa Little Theater, which means late night practices. And so he's working this out in his head, but I do the math in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, really, Adam? You know, if you're going to do the play, you're gonna have to get up, you're gonna be up late, and then you have to get up really early to go to cross country. He's like, Mom, I know that. I'm trying to work this out in my head, and that's not being very supportive. I was like, oh, you are right. And I apologized for that, didn't I? I'm good at apologizing. I'm really good at apologizing, actually. I get better and better all the time, I think. You're looking at me. My daughter. My sweet daughter.
It's agreeable.
Right. And you know what? On his own, with my support and just encouraging him to remember to know he knows what's best, he can do it. He did. He came up with the answer himself, and he's got his summer organized, and it's going to be absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. He did it on his own, though. Okay. Yes. Yes. So, how are we using our words? Okay. Our words, they have so much power. We complaining doesn't just bring us down, it brings the people around us down. Are we finding things to be grateful and happy for? My husband did something last night that was so funny. He said, I think you should have this and this. And he like named off, well, a truck, like a brand new truck. And I said, well, I think you should have this and this and this. And we were just like, a new guitar, oh, a new puppy, a new blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, I felt so rich. I was just laughing at all of it. You know, he's like, yeah, you should have that house you want with a nice patio table. I'm like, yeah, and you should have that music studio. You know, and it just felt so good. It was just really fun. It was a really fun game. Okay, so we think about the power of our words. Are we sunshine or are we Eeyore, right? I love Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh. All my life. I don't like that. The Divine Father also teaches us to be authentic. Be authentic. When we're authentic, we learn what it means to keep the promises to ourselves. We learn what it means to be true to ourselves, to be who we really are. We don't worry about what other people think, okay? We learn not to take things personally, and we know that if we're trying to please everybody, we are going to end up just being in such a crazy world that it's not going to feel fun at all. Because we can't be authentic when we're trying to please everybody else, right? Because everybody else wants something different, don't they? They do. I remember early on in the birth of this church, right after my coach had said, you should start a church, I started thinking about it, and I mentioned it to somebody, and I thought she, would be supportive in it, and she was, but she had all these different ideas about what I should be doing. And she was just like, no, you should do this instead. No. And at first I was thinking, oh, well, I really wanted to be part of this. Oh, and I was like, well, how can I make this work? And then I was like, I just can't do that. Okay, so I kind of took a step back. I started talking to other people who were just like pure support. I mean, like Susan, she was just like right from the beginning, just like, yeah, that sounds good. That sounds so good. That sounds good, right? Karen and Lauren, like here on the very first Sunday, they were just like, yeah, that sounds good, right? My kids, my family, right? This gal, she's never even been here one single time. Not to one Sunday. She started going to another church, right? So I'm happy for her. I am glad she found a spiritual home. Okay, but I learned a really good lesson and have a funny story to share because I was trying to make things work out for somebody who never even planned on coming here, right? That's a waste of our time to try to work so hard to please other people when we're sacrificing our own authenticity. It's always nice when we can do something to help someone. It is. It feels good. But if we try to change ourselves to make someone else happy, they're never going to be happy anyway. They never are. Okay, so authentic. Being authentic. That is the best gift we can give ourselves. The Divine Father also reminds us to be courageous, okay, no matter what. And courage, remember, it's not the absence of fear, it's doing it in spite of the fear. Because there are always going to be things that scare us. And if it's a really great thing, it should scare us a little more than just a little bit. Okay, it means we're on the right track. When we have courage, we are remembering what it is that works through us. Okay, we're not in a state of fear where we're saying, I don't know, how am I going to work this out? No. We know what works through us. We know what we're made of, right? We know that there's something that is wanting to express through our lives. Okay, so we trust that. When we are having courage, remembering what it is that works through us, that's when we receive divine guidance. Okay, that's when we receive inspiration on the next step we're supposed to take. Okay, we always know where it is that we're supposed to go. We have patience because we know that divine timing is the right timing for us. Okay, we don't feel like we have to rush it or make it work ourselves because God forgot. Okay, no. When we're trusting how Spirit works through us, we also trust the timing of Spirit. We trust our GPS system, our internal guidance system. IGS, I guess. IGS. Because we know we're always in the right place at the right time. Okay, that feels good to like one day you do something a little different, you're like, I don't know why I did this, but then something fun happens. There's some kind of a synchronicity or a serendipity, right? Just some happy accident or some wonderful message comes through because we were in the right place at the right time. We didn't struggle, we just went where we felt like we were supposed to be. I remember when I got laid off from my job as a secretary, I went into a panic because I thought, well, how am I going to I need to be a secretary, that's all I know, that's what I should do. But I was led into massage therapy and then into holistic healing. And I realize now as I look back, because that was 20 years ago, every amazing thing that has happened to me in my life has been a catalyst from that event. Okay, every amazing thing. I mean everything. Even home birthing my 2 kids is because I got laid off from being a secretary. Right? Because if I hadn't gotten laid off, I wouldn't have met the woman who I ended up working for as a massage therapist who had a midwife. Right? So it's amazing. Sometimes things happen. We don't agree with them at the time because it's scary. Okay? And we don't like to be scared. We don't like to have uncertainty in our life. But when we trust what's working through us, okay, we can still decide we don't like what's happening. I don't like getting laid off. That wasn't a good feeling. Okay, God, I'm trusting you. Just show me the next thing I'm supposed to do because apparently you know better than I do. That always seems to work that way, right? Our expectations are always exceeded when we let God guide us, when we get out of our own way and stop struggling. Because I will tell you, after I got laid off from that job, I tried to get back there. I tried applying for different jobs there, and none of them were panning out. But I was scared to move forward. I wanted to go backwards, right? Okay, I'm so glad they were just like, no, thank you, Dana. Recently, there was a house that we wanted, and it didn't pan out. My daughter says, well, that just means there's something better for us. Okay, just means there's something better for us. Adam said that too. He's like, yeah, we're just going to wait.
I said it first.
You said it first. You did. You said it for the first house that didn't work out. And then you both said it for the second house, and that's okay. That is okay. And I just take a lesson from the kids, right? Take a lesson. I don't want to settle. I want my expectations exceeded. That is what I want. Okay, so we don't have to ever, when we're coming from a place of courage, we're not asking, well, when does God work through me? I don't feel anything. You know, is he here right now? Is God working through me now? Okay. Yes, God's always seeking to work through us, but we can get in our own way. Okay, we can do that. But all we have to do is just get out of our way. That's all. I was inspired this morning in our Course in Miracles. I remembered a verse from Revelation that said, I set before you an open door. Whatever it is you want, it's in that. You walk through the door. There it is. The door's open. The door's open. Right? Don't dig under it. You know, don't climb over it. The door is open. It's there for you. I found this verse in Jeremiah yesterday, and I really liked it. God is talking, I guess, to Jeremiah, and he says, I am the God who is near, not a God who is far off. The heavens and the earth are filled with me. The heavens and the earth are filled with me. Of course, I think this next one from Acts, it says, for in him we live and move and have our being, for we are his kindred. I think that's a really great explanation for how this works. We are floating in a sea of God. We're there. Okay? We're like the new fish in the ocean when that older fish says, hey boys, how's the water, right? And the little fish go, what water? Okay? We're like that. It's like, hey, how's it feel floating in God? What do you mean? We're floating in God all the time. The Divine Father also helps us to embrace the role of teacher and guide for other people. You know, we're always a teacher and guide for other people because our lives serve as an example. But are they serving as a good example or as a horrible warning? Okay, are we walking the walk? Right? Are we showing somebody what not to do in their life? Right? I remember about 20 years ago, I met a teacher, and he was talking about the importance of forgiveness. Gotta forgive, you gotta forgive. It says you have to forgive, it says you have to forgive, right? But then he would say, oh, I'm not happy with this person. They ruined my life, and they did this, and well, I couldn't have this because of that person, blah, blah, blah. And I saw a person, I'm like, wow, this is a spiritual teacher, and they're talking about how important it is to forgive, and yet they're having a really hard time with it. I don't even know if this is something I can imagine, or I could manage. I think I'm not even gonna try to tackle that one, right? Forget it. So I'm just gonna be mad and blame. That's easier. Well, then a couple of years later, I met these two lovely ladies who used to run a store here in Redlands called Good Sense. And I started hanging out there. And when my kids were born, I would take the kids down there and we'd wander around. And this lady, the owner, she wrote a little book on forgiveness. And she gave a little workshop on forgiveness. And I went to it. And I thought, wow, this is really beautiful. Well, this does seem like it would work. And the other thing, though, was that I would watch her. And I can remember people would come into that store sometimes. And, sometimes people come into a store with a sense of entitlement. And they're going to tell you how to do things. And you know what? They would come in and they would maybe give her a hard time, or her partner, her employee a hard time about something, not being right or not being how they liked it. And then they would leave. And I would be standing there just like, why don't you ban them from your store? Tell them they could never. And you know what? But neither of these ladies ever acted like that. They're just like, oh, our store's not for everybody. Never said any nasty things about them. When I was like, already, okay, we're gonna talk bad about them now, right? No. These ladies, they lived their life as a good example. And when I saw how she was with forgiveness, I just thought, she makes it look easy, and she makes it look like it makes her feel good. And she makes it look like it helps take this burden off of her, right? And she makes it look like it relieves her stress. So I thought, okay, I will try it. Okay, that's what people do. We learn by example. It's not just little kids who learn by example, right? We learn too. When my kids were really little, because I was very overprotective, I would cut an apple. When they wanted an apple, I'd cut it up into slices, and then I would cut the little slices into slices, right? So they were all just this big, right? And I would just put them in a bowl, and the kids would eat the apple. Well, we were watching Disney's Aladdin one day, and Aladdin and his monkey are eating apples, but they're eating them whole, right? Well, the kids saw that, and they're like, Mom, we want an apple. I'm like, okay. I go into the kitchen, they follow me in there. They see me get the knife out. No! Don't cut it! They wanted the apple whole, because Aladdin made it look so fun. Okay? He made it look fun, right? We are learning by example all the time, okay? Now, allowing the Divine Father to work through us, we are also able then to embrace the idea of being creators, okay? We are co-creators with God. That is what we're made for. Okay, we were put here, Paul called us the temple to house God, but that's also a channel, okay? We're the body that God works through, okay? So that God goes from the field of infinite potential through us and comes out into our physical world. Anything God can do for us, God does through us, right? So we are creators, and we allow that to happen when we can embrace the idea of how the Divine Father works in our lives. Now in John 14:10, Jesus said, "The words that I speak, I do not speak of myself, but my Father who abides with me does these works." Okay, and he said that several times. He'd perform a miracle. He'd say, oh, I didn't do that. The Father within me did that. Okay, Jesus acknowledged what it was that worked through him. And then again, he kept reminding us. He kept reminding his disciples, God is in the kingdom is within you, and, I'm going low, and you should be doing what I'm doing. Sorry about that. Now, we're not co-creating with God. We're not allowing God to work through us when we get distracted, when we get fearful. Now, one thing that can happen when we get distracted and forget that God can work through us, that God's always there to work through us, we'll forget. And so we'll see somebody else doing something that seems to work for them. And we'll think, oh, okay, it's working for them. I'll try that too. I'll do that too. Okay? But that's not for us. that takes away from who we really are. We're not being authentic when we're trying to do what someone else does. Right? Now, we can be inspired by other people. That happens all the time. But that inspiration is coming from a place of inspiration. It's giving us an aha moment. I know what I could do with that. I know how that would work for me. Okay, that is a lot different than thinking, well, you know, this person makes really good money shoeing horses, so I just want to make good money, so I'm going to do that too. Right? Forget they're allergic to horses and they're afraid of any animals bigger than a cat. Okay? It's not going to work for them. Okay, so it won't work for us in the long run if it's not coming from God through us, right? We have to be authentic to ourselves. You know how people will go to college and they'll change their college majors? It's because they keep learning more, right? I did that. When I went to college, first I was going to be a psych major, then an astronomy major, then a computer programming major, right? And then oceanography. Okay, and then back to psychology, and then to religious studies, okay? Because as I would learn, I would think, oh, this sounds really fun. Oh, wait, I would get into the class and be like, wow, this is really hard. I don't know if I want to do this, okay? But you know what, I've gone through a lot of like tech school kind of things, and I have learned so many things. I have an obscene amount of certificates because I wasn't comfortable doing what I'm doing now. I thought I couldn't do this. Okay, so I would think, well, I'll do this, and I would train, and I would get the certificate, and I would train. My husband, oh, he was so supportive. He's like, okay, you want to take another class? All right. If you think this is the one, and the thing is I always thought each one was the one, but it wasn't, because I was afraid. That's what was happening. I was afraid to just be who I really was. So if something's not working for us, it's because we're trying to be something we're not meant to be. Whenever the hero of any story refuses to acknowledge what it is that works through them and what it is they're really supposed to be doing, they live a life of suffering, okay? When they refuse to acknowledge who they really are, they stay in a place where they're not happy. Now, have you ever tried to make something work because someone else told you should do it? Have you ever tried to make something work because you were afraid to do what you really wanted to do? Okay? God is working through us. We're meant to be creators. That's why we're here. If you're here right now and you're taking a breath, I'm telling you, you're meant to be a creator. You're meant to be channeling this infinite energy through you. I know this for a fact. If you need to call me later and ask me again, I'll tell you the same thing. Okay? You are meant to be channeling creative energy. Before King Arthur pulled that sword out of the stone, he had to acknowledge what he had within him. He had seen other knights try to pull the sword out of the stone, right? He'd seen other people do it who were bigger and stronger than him. Okay? But then he went and he just did it. Dorothy, before she could return to Kansas from the land of Oz, she had to acknowledge that she had power within her. She conquered an evil witch, right? But she had to discover she had the power within her all the time, okay? Her shoes. Alice could not leave Wonderland until she acknowledged what she had within her. Okay, at the very end of that story, all the Queen's card soldiers are coming at her with their spears. She says, you are nothing but a deck of playing cards. Okay, and she returns home. Now Hansel and Gretel, they went into the vast unknown. That is what they did. They faced their fears, they claimed their spiritual treasures, and then they returned home to their father. After they returned home to their father, they were co-creators. Okay? They lived happily ever after. Okay? They had their challenges. They had to probably learn to do something else, right? Because that's what we do. Our happily ever after means we continue the journey. We continue our journey, and we have our ups and downs. And we take this journey so that we can learn to be authentic. We take this journey so we are allowing God to work through us. That's what we're doing. We're getting better and better and better all the time. Each lake we cross, each evil monster in the woods that we conquer, we are getting better and better at remembering what it is that works through us, what put us here, and what we're capable of. Okay, what we are capable of. So we discover who we are. We discover what works through us. We discover that we are co-creators also, and that's always, all along, what we were meant to be doing. So until next time, remember that you are a divine co-creator and you are a force for good. You are a light and you light the way. With every beat of your heart and with every breath you take, you are radiating light and love out into the world around you. In everything you do, you are blessed, and so it is. Amen. Babe, could you go grab the prayer box? Like, I was so relaxed. I was almost asleep, Mom. So now we're going to send some of that lovely co-creating energy through us right now and out into the universe for our friends and our loved ones. Thank you, sweetie. Oh. That was my elbow. Okay. All right, so let's just take a deep breath. And just feel that loving energy that's already inside of you, because it's always there. Just feel that energy radiating out through you, radiating out into this room. The infinite presence of God works through us at every moment. So we could just keep radiating this love and light out through us, and we just do it forever. So right now we'll think about our friends and our loved ones who have a request right now for healing and love, comfort. We see them surrounded by this healing, loving energy. We see that as this light works through us, it also works through them. This beautiful energy moves through them, bringing wholeness, bringing comfort, bringing love and peace. And we think about any of our own concerns, and we put those out into this loving energy also. We know that anything God has done, God can do. Healing's happened before, so healing happens again. Love has happened before, so love happens again. Anything, God can do anything. So we put our concerns out there. We know they are already taken care of. We are already healed and whole. We already have the presence of God working through us. And all is well. Amen. Amen. Okay, so who was it that first? There was one for Lorna, right? And Karen? We have little stones for you. I'll pass this down to Lauren, Karen. And who else was there?
Anybody else?
Story.
And those were fairy tales for children.
Did they make a movie about them and they were witch hunters or something?
Yeah, that's a crazy, like, wild sci-fi movie we're going to have to watch. All right, so let's go ahead and gather into our circle then and sing our peace song.
Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me. Let there be peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as our Father, family all are we. Let us walk with each other in
know for sure that the light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, and the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Amen. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, dear. Remember, we have our gifts for the ministry basket, and next week is Red Sunday. So if you want to wear something red or a red scarf, and then, oh, I was going to
The
say one
next
more
week
thing.
after that is the public thing.
We're coming to the service.
Well, public's the second
Yeah,
Sunday.
your friend's meditation.
Oh, yes, and we have a music, there's a music meditation on Friday if you want that.
Friday.
What time?
Friday at 7, I think it's at 7, and it's at the Spiritual Treatment Center.
What kind of meditation? Music?
You know, it's music, I think it's called the Music Mantra. But if you want the information, you can email me, because it's somebody else who's doing it. Michael, yeah, yes, he's doing it.
Yeah. Like a drum instructor?
I don't know if it's a drum instructor or not. I can email you his, I can email you his notes to know. Okay, well, there's coffee and cookies in the other room.
Awesome. And do you know your daughter's younger?
Yes, she is.
Wow.
Stand together here.
Friday, what happened? There's a meditation music? That out church, huh?
Look at that.
Oh.
Oh,
Mom.
Yeah, she is.
She's
taller.
She's taller than
Half inch taller.
She's taller than her.
Yes, she is.
Hey, so nice to see you guys. Yes.
Is that Living That's what I need. That's fine. That's what I'm saying. There's so many stuff, you know.
Cheryl did such a
Positive
good job.
thinking. That's what.
Cheryl, no, I agree. I agree.